What are the downsides of weed that people don't talk about? Post by Darkspawn_14. As a pretty consistent weed smoker, I don't like when people say that weed isn't addicting. They're right in saying that it's not addictive chemically like nicotine or something, you can still get addicted to not being sober. Definitely. I have a horribly addictive personality and ended up psychologically addicted to it to the point where I couldn't function not high. Been sober since April. I've noticed after the initial uptick in chatter people tend to get really quiet, and zoned out in their own thoughts. When I used to smoke it, I found it had a dulling effect on my personality and conversational skills after the fact, too. Yeah, I'd never tell any of my sweet lovely friends this in real life in case it hurt their feelings, but a couple of them are a lot less fun after they smoke weed. It can become your only personality trait. I know someone who would defend weed like if it were part of themselves, their personality, and that's all they talked about. Demotivation in heavy consumers. It is fine in moderation, but multiple times per day seems to suck the ambition from most people I've seen, including myself long ago. South Park said it best. Well, son, pot makes you feel fine with being bored. And it's when you're bored that you should be learning some new skill or discovering some new science or being creative. If you smoke pot you may grow up to find out that you aren't good at anything. Inhaling any type of smoke at all isn't good for your lungs. And that shit's expensive. I buy edibles. Can't stand to inhale smoke since I quit cigarettes 20 years ago. It's still expensive though. It makes you okay with being just okay. This is profound. I was using it as a way to get through depression, but it was not a great coping mechanism. I knew I had to use it as a stepping stone to get to real coping skills, otherwise I would never be good again, just okay. One thing that I never see brought up is the effect of marijuana on dreaming. Marijuana use can prevent the user from dreaming during regular sleep. When the user stops using marijuana for a while, they can experience night after night of extremely vivid dreams. I can only speak for my own experience, but I have heard this echoed by a co-worker's dad who started smoking again because he couldn't handle having acid trip dreams every night. I suspect that marijuana has some potent effect on REM sleep that will remain under-documented until it is descheduled and more thorough research can be done. Definitely true, smoked every night for a couple years, never dreamed until I stopped. Anecdotally I experience profound changes in energy levels of I smoke before bed. If I do it too often it leads to difficulty falling asleep. But even a single use can cause me to wake and feel groggy and mentally unfit. Over the course of a week, this can lead to emotional regulation problems for me. I become cranky and impatient. I used to be a career pothead. I quit a year ago and the improvements in my quality of sleep are staggering. My whole life has gotten easier to manage. Weed is for people that have found their way in life, it's not for people who are looking for the way, my uncle. In other words, as fun as it may seem when you're young. Get your shit together first: education, family, career, etc. My husband smokes and honestly, he's got his shit together. He works a great job, has a good education, is a great dad, doesn't drink, motivated, etc. I think in his case it helps him relax. This is really true. I smoke weed but I have a successful life. My brother isn't very successful and also smokes. Guess which one of our weed habits my parents complain about? I would say that as a long-term smoker that wants out it has made me incredibly boring. If I have evening plans on the weekend but smoke anything in the day then I'm far more prone to canceling those nighttime plans. If I do attend those plans after smoking in the day then I feel I'm not entirely there. Awkward silences, jokes don't land, keeping a conversation going becomes 10x harder and I'm inevitably just waiting for an appropriate time to leave. Overall it just kinda makes you socially awkward and super boring to be around in a social setting. Just from my experience. I remember one party I was at, sitting in a corner, and the whole night felt like one of those scenes in movies when the guy stands there and everything behind is blurry and in fast motion. People would come and sit next to me, have whole conversations that I would listen to, and then go, but could not interact at all. Weird. I was trying to drink less at the time and as a result smoked way more. It was not working. Leaves. It seems like most of my response has already been said, but I want to reiterate 3 major observations what I've noticed from my own semi-frequently weed consumption. 1. Demotivation. The impact from weed on motivation levels I find is in 2 parts. The first part is when you initially consume the weed, most people fall into a habit of eating food and watching something on TV. The second part one found is the next morning, I experience a type of weed hangover the following morning. I feel more groggy and more susceptible to just loading around the following day. 2. Anxiety. Things that aren't currently stressing you out may start to induce anxiety in you. While this isn't always the case, weed has the potential to worsen your mental state if you aren't careful. This impact became more pronounced when I smoked weed solo. Having other people around allowed me to be more present in the moment, whereas I was in my head when I was alone. 3. Food consumption. I found for me that continued weed use led to some unhealthy eating habits. The munchies are real and for often that not you are craving food that is not considered healthy. If this becomes a more common occurrence then your overall diet can go south quickly. Been smoking every day for the past decade and am recently realizing that being too introspective can be a negative thing at times. I've been thinking too much and acting too little. Very true. It can trigger psychosis if you're susceptible to it already. Like anything else in the world, it can be addictive. Putting anything that's not air in your lungs is bad for you. A family friend is super anti-weed because it triggered schizophrenia in his brother. They have a family history but the dude smoked too much and triggered it. Scary shit. He's been in and out of mental hospitals ever since. It's really bad for developing brains, i.e. anyone under 25. Because of all the lies people told about how marijuana was the worst drug ever, I was fairly skeptical of this claim. But the recent evidence is pretty clear that marijuana isn't good for development. More people need to hear this, since it changes the conversation quite a bit. Not having an appetite if you're not high. You have to smoke heavily though to get to that point. Real talk here, when I started smoking I gained 10 pounds, when I kept smoking I lost 40. Cannabinoid hyperemesis and cyclic vomiting syndrome. I can't believe I had to scroll this far to find this. I started smoking regularly at night to assuage anxiety and kick-start my appetite and eventually ended up developing this super fun condition. It's absolutely awful. I thought I was pregnant and/or dying. Mind-blowing anxiety and paranoia, every time. Not for me thanks. Just to clarify my position, I fully uphold anyone's right to do what they feel helps with their own body and am not against weed. If it helps you I am happy for you. Wish it was the same for me. Happy New Year. Some strains make me go off the rails with anxiety, or just if I smoke too much in general. A lot of people tell me that weed helps with their anxiety but I've never experienced that myself, just the exact opposite. I still smoke it though, but I definitely understand that those effects can be enough to put people off it for life. If you use it regularly it can become super expensive. An ounce of good weed costs $50 in Oregon, maybe $75. That is a month of heavy smoking, so not expensive at all compared to just about any other hobby. People spend twice that much on coffee drinks, that much on one dinner out, and at least that much on a single major sporting event. Edit. We are also allowed to grow 4 plants at home, so lots of people just have weed to give away. E.g. my mom grows 4 plants in her garden just because she thinks that they are pretty and gives away the 4+ ounces each fall. Second edit. Okay, you all pay more for marijuana than we do in Oregon. Ask your legislators why flowers cost so much money, why the regulation and the tax. Don't tell this Oregonian that your neighbors voted the wrong people into office. Third edit. Apparently 2 giant joints per day of killer weed, getting a person high 4x day, which keeps one stoned 24/7, is not heavy smoking for some people. Whatever. There's this idea that exists that driving while high on weed is somehow safe. It really isn't. It makes you drowsy, with your reactions time, makes you spacey. aka, a bunch of stuff that will make you crash your car and kill someone. This idea among people of like, "Nah, I'm cool to drive high," is just as dangerous and irresponsible as the people that say, "I drive better drunk." Do potheads seriously think driving under the influence is safe? That's scary as hell. Frequent heavy use can affect your motivation and mood, even during periods of not being high. It is habit-forming. Not technically addictive, but for some it can be habit-forming in maladaptive ways. Bad for your lungs if you inhale combusted flour. Many people just smoke instead of dealing with their problems. On r/trees I'll see people post "GF just broke up with me, getting high AF." I treat it like I would alcohol only on the weekends and occasionally during the weekdays. And just to have fun and not escape my current life situation. This thread is giving me more and more motivation to quit in the new year. What I've noticed about excessive use and what's frequently touched upon here is the demotivation. I become a slobbish baked potato for the most part. I let everything go until it's anxiety-inducing and causes a breakdown. And quitting cold turkey, at least in my experience, can cause sleep paralysis, which is terrifying to say the least. Both my roommates are heavy smokers, and they just think so slowly. It takes them forever to understand anything. They also forget a lot of stuff, like they'll step away from the dishes for a moment and then never finish them without prompting. The house smells like a coffin. I eat the occasional edible, but seeing how lethargic they are has convinced me to quit smoking pot entirely. Cannabis-induced disassociation can completely ruin your life. You are an absolute legend for making it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. And if you can't get enough, consider subscribing. See you around.